So we came to that point that something or external forces make the sufficient external force is needed to make the break the atom and to remove the electron aside or ionize these particles as positively and negatively charged particles. So this energy, for example, to overcome the electronic forces, the high energy particles, for example, as a kind of X-rays, or ultraviolet light, have sufficient energy to make such a process. So to make the electron to move out from the atom and ionize these particles. And because of that capacity of the X-rays, and high energy particles rays also the ultraviolet light are have are called the ionizing radiations. By the way, the other kind of radiations, for example, the visible light or the radio waves, also are the radiations, the types of radiations, but they never possess the sufficient energy to break through the atom and ionize these particles. So they are called the non-ionizing radiations. Now we came to the point of ionizing radiation. And what is the nature of radiation? So we have already told and already explained that radiation makes the atom to be ionized, but now we have to understand the basic concept of radiation. So what is it? What is it? The radiation? The radiation is just the same as energy that goes through the space and matter. So the radiation is the transmission of the energy through space and matter. I want you to understand that radiation is not only the light. This is the energy. You understand?
Yes, yes.
Yes, this is the energy that can traverse, that can pass through space and matter. So it may occur in two forms. It's very, very essential from you to understand the forms of radiation. This is the electromagnetic and particulate radiation. So when we are talking about the X-rays, when we are talking about the diagnostic methods, diagnostic imaging making by the X-rays, or even the tomography, computing tomography imaging, when we use the X-rays, so these very X-rays are the electromagnetic radiation. Do you understand? Hello?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, you understand. So diagnostic imaging and projection radiography, as we see by our radiography films, or computed tomography, use these very X-ray beams, a category of electromagnetic radiation that is ionizing in nature. But we also have the electromagnetic radiation types that are not ionizing in nature, are non-ionizing radiations, and other types than X-rays. And we use it in healthcare, for example, in healthcare application as magnetic resonance imaging. It is very familiar to you, yes? The computed tomography, magnetic resonance imaging, yes, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes, of course. So, so another type of also the particulate radiation I want to mention, the petit. Do you know what the petit means?
What?
Petit is the positron emitting tomography. It is a kind of radiological examination, the imaging, the emission tomography. Petit. It is based on the particular radiation. particulate radiation, another type of radiation. Yes,
Yeah.
the positron emitted tomography. So we have computed tomography, which uses the X-rays. We use the magnetic resonance imaging, which uses no X-rays, the rays, electromagnetic rays, but radiation, but other than X-rays, which is non-ionizing in nature. And we use the particulate radiation. You understand? Particulate radiation that is based on the basis of particles and the energy emitted from the releasing of particles from radioactive atoms. And this is the kind of imagination is PET. It's a abbreviated form of positron emission tomography.
Sorry, the PT imaging is like echo scan or something? Echo.
Echo, no, PET, positron emission tomography.
Not the same.
Yes, not the same, just not the same. This is the other type of radiation. This is the particulate radiation.
Okay, okay.
Understand?
Yes.
So we now will define from these two types of radiation, the electromagnetic radiation. What is the magnetic radiation? Because the first representative of this kind of radiation are the X-rays that we use in our offices during our practices. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. So what are the electromagnetic radiation? As we already have told about that, the radiation is the transmission of energy, and the part of goes through the space and matter. As a part of the radiation, one of the representatives, so electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation is the movement of energy through space with combination of electric and magnetic fields. It's a little bit hard to understand, but as it, yes, a little bit hard to understand, but it's very simply, this is only the title of this kind of waves, of this kind of beams, because the motion of the energy, motion on the energy is acquired as, explained in a combination of electric and magnetic fields. As you know, there are in physics, there are electric fields and magnetic fields. And the combination of these kind of spaces, when the energy goes through, it is defined as electromagnetic radiation. Do you understand now?
Yes.
So, and from where the electromagnetic radiation is derived from, yes, it is generated when the velocity of an electrically charged particle is altered. For example, gamma rays, for example, X-rays, and so forth. From the radiation, the kind of radiation is derived. As I mentioned, the electromagnetic radiation or radiation itself is generated and is produced from the particle, from the particle that gains the kinetic energy. So it is just the same that when we are talking about that, the generation of the energy begins when velocity of an electrically charged particle is altered. So what is the electrically charged particles in the nucleus? In the nucleus, electrically charged particles are protons, as you know. Yes?
Yes.
So, and outside the nucleus, electrically charged particles are represented by negatively charged electrons. Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. So, during production of, for example, gamma rays, which also represents the electromagnetic radiation type, gamma rays originate in the nucleus of radioactive atoms. I want you to pay attention from the origin of the gamma rays, because in the contrast of X-rays origination, X-rays originate outside the nucleus from the electrons, when the electron is removed from the outer shell of the nucleus. So gamma rays are originated from the nucleus of radioactive elements, of radioactive electron, which has a high mass, but the X-rays are produced and are generated outside the nucleus. You understand?
Yes, yes.
Yes. In contrast, the X-rays are produced outside the nucleus and results from the interaction of the electrons to the nucleus of large atoms. You understand?
Yes, well.
So
Okay.
that is the very process. That is the very process that occurs in X-ray machine. X-ray machine that we use in everyday examinations in our offices and dental offices. So we came to the X-ray machine, and now I am, if you are not tired by the lecture, I will continue to explain the working, the primary parts of the X-ray machine and the destination of these little parts, make a little review of intrinsic parts of the X-ray tube head, and explain how it works in the dental office. Okay? Are you tired or not?
For me, no. I don't
No?
know. Or others.
Ah, you don't know? And what
For
about others?
me, I'm not tired.
You are tired?
No.
No. Okay. So we continue? No, no, no. Okay, very good, ladies and gentlemen. I will continue explaining X-ray machines. I'm sure that every one of you have seen the X-ray machine and what parts, and you have the imaginary view in your imagination. You know what parts is consisted the X-ray machine. Yes or no?
Of course.
Yes, of course. And others? What about others? Yes. Okay. Merlin said yes, and all of you have seen the X-ray machine. Yes, it's very good from you. So, X-ray machines produce what? X-ray machine produce X-rays, and X-rays passes through. Yes, of course. X-rays passes through patient's tissues and strike to digital sensor or digital receptor or the dental film. Yes.
Yes.
I'm talking about an ordinary X-ray machine that we use, intraoral X-ray machine that we use in our offices. So, what are the primary components of the X-ray machines? You have seen the tube, yes, and you have seen the tube that is positioned within the tube head. Yes? The length of the tube, the operator, by its will, may choose the length of the tube. It may be recessed or shortened or may be lengthened. It depends upon the manufacturer. You understand? You understand?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So these are two primary parts, the tube and the tube head. Then comes the arm, the special arm, that is the special arm that holds the tube head, and the display unit that is mounted on the wall.
Yes.
Which shows the timer, the display for timer, by which the operator may choose the, for example, time that is affordable for. That is affordable for. I'm sorry.
The frequency of the X-ray.
Yes, the frequency of it, the beam strength, and so forth, and everything. So to the imaging to be make more high quality. Okay, the thing that interest us mostly, I will make a little review of the X-ray tube itself, what it contains and how the X-rays are generated. Okay, so we already mentioned the X-ray tube, and now the X-ray tube itself that contains the special parts where this process, the generation of X-ray, is produced. An X-ray tube is composed of X-ray tube is composed of a cathode and anode, the two structures that are situated in one evacuated glass envelope, the special evacuated glass envelope or tube. It's very hard to me because I cannot show the construction of this. So for now, I cannot show the construction of this tube, but it's very elementary. So I want you to imagine the box. Can you imagine the box?
Yes,
a box which is encircled, glass encircled box, where two structures oppositely positioned to each other are fixed. Understand?
Yes. We can open that at Google. We see.
Yes. So two structures in one box, and this box is evacuated. I want you to pay the special attention to the evacuation. So this box is without air. There is a vacuum. You understand?
Yes.
So this is a very special thing in understanding, the follow-up understanding of X-ray production. So what are these two structures, and what for these two structures embedded in glass encircled box do principally? So the one comprises the cathode and another comprises the anode.
Yes.
As you know, from elementary physics, the cathode represents a structure that is negatively charged, and the opposite part, the anode, represents the oppositely charged structure that is called anode. Yes? And both of them have high affinity to each other. You understand? Yes. To produce the X-rays, in the X-rays production process, the electrons from the filaments that are embedded in the cathode, so you know that the cathode is negatively charged. So electrons stream or repel from the cathode directly to the direction of the anode. Understand? Yes, they are targeted to the anode, where to the anode. So where the energy from some of the electrons is converted into X-rays. So the meaningful in this process is lies in the concept that this electron charge range between cathode and anode is very principal in the movement of the electrons from cathode to anode, to make the electrons give the high kinetic energy by high kinetic energy by which it strikes the focal spot or the anode target where the X-ray formation takes place. So what is the cathode like? The cathode in the X-ray tube consists of filaments, the filaments that are represented in the chemical element as tungsten. You understand? Do you know what is the tungsten?
No.
You don't know that this is a chemical element that is chosen for its ideal nature, that is very suitable for the X-ray production?
I don't know what.
You don't know what the tungsten is.
No, no, no.
You don't. You know the chemical element, for example, nitrous, sodium, or
Yes,
copper?
yes.
Yes?
Sodium, copper, uranium, everything.
Yes. You know uranium and copper. Do you know? Or iodine, for example?
Radium, iodine, yes, iodine, yes.
Yes. You know, this is the chemical element, iodine,
Okay.
with a special mass. Yes?
Special mass, yes, high
That's a
mass.
special math. So now we, for the cathode in X-ray tube, the another element, chemical element, for example, tungsten is chosen. You understand?
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Chemical element.
Yes, this is an ordinary chemical element,
Okay.
pure chemical element, by which the filaments, the special filaments, are formed and are embedded in the cathode. It has cup-like appearance. You understand?
Understand.
Yes. So, again, the same element is embedded on the opposite side, the anode. That is called target. It is also the tungsten. You understand?
Okay.
Okay, but the tungsten of the target is charged positively in opposite to the tungsten, the chemical element that comprises the filament that is charged negatively. You understand?
Yes.
So you understand the differences also between these two structures.
Okay. So
That
what?
is very special for initiation of electron emitting process.
Okay.
Okay.
The anode and the cathode, it's made from the same
Yes, of course.
element or
Yes.
different element.
Yes, they are made of the same elements, and this element is tungsten.
Tungsten, yes.
So, and in the follow-up explanation, I will tell you why the tungsten was chosen for that process, why the special element was chosen for this process. Okay? Okay, the cathode in an X-ray tube consists of filaments and filaments because the filament is these filaments are the source of electrons within the X-ray tube. So so I have already told you that the source of elements are are situated on the cathode, but. I'm sorry, have you a question?
For me, no.
For you know, and any other have any question? No? Okay, I will continue. So, the electrons from the cathode on the by the when they after the heating of the cathode, the electrons are activated and repelled from the surface of the elements and directed right to the right to the spot, the focal spot, which is represented again by the positively charged cathode and anode, I'm sorry, or the tungsten again. And during the striking process of the tungsten atom of anode, the energy is released, and this very energy, when is released, is converted. The kinetic energy of electrons is converted into the radiation energy. Do you understand now? The means of production of X-rays inside the X-ray tube.
Yes.
So I have I must make an emphasis on the electrons by the way that the kinetic energy of free moving electrons targeted to the focal spot that is embedded in the anode, during striking process of the electrons up to the surfaces of the anode, makes free the energy, and this energy, the kinetic energy, after striking of electrons on the targeted anode, is converted to the photons, by the mechanical quantum mechanism, by the quantum mechanism, these streams of bundles of energy are rewritten as photons. So X-rays or the beam of X-rays is consisted of photons. Do you understand?
Can you repeat the last one?
Hello?
The last one.
The last one, you didn't understand. You haven't understood. So, when the electron strikes on the target and its kinetic energy is converted to the energy, yes, this energy, the energy bundles, the wholly, are called photons. The photons are elementary component of X-ray beam itself. You understand?
Okay, yes.
Yes, you understand. So we came to the concept of production of X-ray beam, and that the X-ray beam is comprised by photons, and it has, of course, the ionizing effect on biological molecules, of course. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Yes. So, as I have mentioned above, this special structure where the cathode and anode are situated is without air, without gas, or evacuated. And what is the principle or evacuation and non-existence? There are the gas molecules in the structure inside the X tube. The main goal for evacuating the air and gas molecules inside the tube is that the preventing of collision of high energy electrons emitted from the cathode, preventing of electron collision to the gas molecules, which will suppress the kinetic energy of the electrons that is targeted to the anode. Do you understand this very special process?
Okay. Good.
So now you understand, now you should understand that the kinetic energy that possesses the electron is very special for creation of an X-ray beam, because not the whole striking process of electrons or the anode and all the kinetic energy of the electrons after striking on the anode is converted into the X-rays. This very small part is converted to the X-rays, but 99% of this striking process, the energy following the striking process, is converted into the heat. You understand?
Yes.
Yes. So we have to have the much more electrons with high kinetic energy to make the X-rays, characteristic with high quality. Do you understand?
Okay.
Okay. So now now I have I came to the topic of heat. I mentioned the heat. Of course, inevitably, the heat will be produced in the X-ray tube, because without these phenomena, no physical reaction occurs in the universe. So where the heat goes, where goes all this high temperature that is produced inside the high tube? Sorry?
They have oil in the tube for cooling and everything.
Yes, inside the heat is the energy. The 99% of the kinetic energy is converted into heat.
Yes.
So it is very harmful for the structures. Yes?
Yes.
For the structures inside the X-ray tube. It may inhibit the production of X-rays. So where does this heat goes to? So now we have mentioned that anode is embedded into the copper box. You understand? The copper is just an element. It's just the radium or the tungsten. You understand?
Yes.
Yes.
Copper,
So,
yes.
okay. And this copper box is responsible for heat, for conducting and transmitting the heat out of the X-ray tube without overburning the structure inside the X-ray tube. Understand?
Okay.
Okay. So, and what about what about the tungsten? Why I wanted you to pay attention when the tungsten was, as the chemical element, was chosen for constructing an X-ray production process in the X-ray machine, because it has the ideal parameters for this, ideal chemical nature that is very suitable for the X-ray production. The first is the high atomic number. I want you to pay attention of the high atomic number of this element. Why? Because as I have already mentioned, that X-ray are produced outside the nuclei when the electron, freely moving electron, strikes the high atomic number atom. You understand?
Yes.
Yes. For the X-ray production is needed the electron, kinetic energy of the electron that will be substituted by the incident electron after striking process, when it strikes to the electron that is very closer to nucleus itself. Because when the electron shell that, or the orbit that is closer to the nucleus, it comprises and it possesses the much more higher energy. You understand?
Need more energy, yes?
Yes, of course. And high kinetic energy electron striking up to that electron provides the release of the photon, release the energy that is very useful in X-ray production. Now you understand the concept of X-ray production inside the atom.
Okay, yes.
Okay? So, and because of that basis, the high atomic number, for example, for tungsten is 74. For hydrogen, it's 1, yes?
Yes, for hydrogen.
Yes. For tungsten is 74. It's a high atomic number. High atomic number, this means that the nucleus of the tungsten combines to its with much more high electric forces, the electrons. You understand?
Yes.
Yes. So these much electron forces needs the much external forces, and eventually the high energy waves, the high energy photons are produced by that way. Understand?
Okay.
Okay. So, and another feature that the tungsten possesses is high melting point, because as I have mentioned above, during the striking process of the electrons, not all the energy, kinetic energy, is converted to X-rays, but 90% is converted into the heat. So that's why the tungsten was chosen as the very element for this process, because it has high melting point and it withstands withstands the heat that is produced during X-ray production. Do you understand?
Okay.
Okay. So Now we have talked about the thermal conductor. The thermal conductor, the role of thermal conductor inside the X-ray tube is makes the copper block, yes, and
Copper
it's avoid the copper block, yes, where
Yes.
the tungsten anode is embedded. So now we have to talk about the power supply. We know that power supply, what does it mean? The power supply produces or generates the energy for heating them, for heating the filaments of the tungsten, of the electron, of the cathode, to generate the stream of electrons, and to jet and to make the potential difference between cathode and anode for the electron emission to be effective. More electrons, more kinetic energy, more effective will be the X-ray beam production inside the X-ray tube. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have talked about the X-ray production process. X-ray production process, and if you want, we will have a little break.
Yes, we need that.
Okay, a little break for how many minutes? 5 or 10 minutes?
20 minutes, 30 minutes, no problem.
20? 20 is not so much or not? Say 10 minutes would be enough, or 15?
Whatever you want, no problem.
Okay, so 15 minutes a break, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Okay. Pardon me?
Sorry, doctor.
Yes.
At this time, you can send for us the presentation. You can
Yes.
show you when you speak.
Unfortunately, for the next time, I will have to make the presentations, because these are little technical problems according to that, and it will be okay for the next lecture.
Yes, okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Because when you see on the diagrams, it's easy to understand the things, what the talking that is going on, the to focus on the theme. Yes, it's too much information. Merlin, can you hear me?
Yes, doctor, I'm hearing you.
Yes, Merlin, you have checked already the information. That's very good, but you know that there are some details that are not very useful for us as a dentist.
Yes, so we
We have,
only need
yes.
to know the important things.
Yes.
None of the details, right?
Yes, because we are now talking about the very important is the radiation, the X radiation, how the X-ray machine is is focus. We are focusing on the syllabi, on the content, on the syllabi itself, because in syllabi is given the following topics: the composition of matter, the nature of radiation, X-ray itself. But no.
გესმით ჩემი
სალო მესმის. ხო, სალო, ხო. ეს არის სალო, ეხლა პატარა ბრეიკია, ისვენებენ და მე 10 წუთში უნდა გავაგრძელოთ.
დიახ, კარგით, კარგით. ანუ სხვა რამე პრობლემა ხომ არ გქონდათ?
არა. დავით, კარგად მიდის ძალიან.
კი. არც ჭედავს მე მგონი პროგრამა, ხო?
არა, საერთოდ არაფერს არ ჭედავს, ძალიან კარგად მიდის. ეხლა კითხვებს მისმევენ.
დიახ.
მე კითხვებს დამისმევენ კიდე. ერთად ინფორმაცია.
კარგი. თუ შეიძლება რომ დამირეკოთ, რომ დამთავრდება, გავთიშავ ჩაწერას.
ხო, კაი, სალო.
კარგით, კარგით.
კაი, სალო. წარმატებები, სალო, მადლობა. So, ჯერ არა. მაგრამ გადი ერთი წუთი მიმაცდენ. კიდე. So, have you any question else? Electric absorption.
Doctor.
Yes. Are you ready?
How is your time at home? All time you are at home and everything is closed. And no work, nothing.
You mean what time is now?
No.
It's 50 minutes past 4. Yes, Hussein, I hear you.
Yes, hello.
Yes, I'm hearing. Hearing.
1 second.
Hello?
How do you spend your time at home?
How I'm spending my time at home.
Yes, because it's very boring.
It's very boring being in the flat. Yes, you
Yes,
mean in the apartment.
yes,
So
that
I will tell you a little secret because situation in Georgia according to the quarantine
yes,
laws, we have enough time from 9 to I'm sorry, from 6 of in the morning
nine.
to be at home, but all of other time we can move freely through the town. There are no restrictions in
Yes, I know
Tbilisi.
that, but
Yes.
everything is closed, and if you
Everything
want
is
to
closed,
go,
yes, of course. But
yes, you cannot make everything,
in
anything.
and especially in my situation is that I have the house, not only the Tbilisi itself, but I have the garden house nearby the Tbilisi
Yes.
with a big garden and with
Oh,
a big garden, and so with the house garden itself, and I have the spring works made already there, so it's a good entertainment for me to be there on the open air and working with my plants, so the trees, and they are so enthusiastic working in outside in open air. So I spend much time. I don't feel constricted according to the quarantine period.
oh my God! Here at my flat, it's very small, and you cannot make anything.
And unfortunately, yes, it's
Yes,
so bothering. It's so bothering being in a closed house. Yes, I understand. Unfortunately, but for me, it's a great benefit from going outside the city, as I do always on my weekends. And spend the whole time in the open air.
yes.
There are without any quarantine.
On quarantine.
Yes, without any quarantine. It's a good excitement for being there. So I think that the time of break is over. Are you ready, Hussein, to continue our conversation about radiology? Merlin, okay, you are ready. Okay, darling. And any others? Philippe also is ready. So let's continue our talk about
Yes, doctor. Yes.
radiology. So as we have gone through the little overview about production of the X-ray and X-ray beam, and we have already make a little overview of the X-ray machine itself, and of course the X-ray production. We have discussed about the X-ray production. Merlin has already said that there are too much in literature. There are too much information about some details that are not in according to us. It's not. It's interesting, but not so useful. Not so useful. So we will make the emphasis, especially on the topics that are indicated in our syllabi, ladies and gentlemen. So. We have talked about X-ray machine, and now I want to pay your attention about the next topic that refers to the radiology and radiotherapy involving the oral cavity. So as we have already mentioned that irradiation energy derived from radiation is very useful for us in dentistry and in healthcare because they are applicable in diversity of diagnostic purposes, for diagnostic purposes, for example, computed tomography, in radiology itself, projection radiology, and in magnetoresonance, in PET, and so on and so forth and so forth. But the radiation also is useful in healthcare, for healthcare destinations such as cancer treatment, as you know, cancer treatment. And also, by the way, we have to mention the harmful effect of radiation on the vital tissues, of course, on the patient and so forth, because the X-ray, as other radioactive electromagnetic waves, for example, gamma rays or so forth, they transmit their energy through the vital tissues and so forth, make its influence or effects on the biological molecules. So as we have already mentioned that X-rays are the constituent part of the X-rays are photons. These are the bundles of energy with a joint. Okay, hi Baker. The bundles of energy represented by the photons that also have the ionizing, that also are the ionizing in nature and have also the energy. These photons, when interact to the biologic molecules, biologic molecules causes the ionization of these very molecules. We are now talking about the influence of the radiation on the vital tissues. Understand? You understand what is the topic about? Hello? Yes.
I think the microphone is open.
Yes.
Yes, we understand.
You understand? Yes, we are talking about the radiation influence on the vital tissue.
Yes.
Okay. So photons from a diagnostic or from the therapeutic X-rays beam interact with the patient's tissues, causing the ionization of biologic molecules. What does it mean, the ionization of biologic molecules? What does it mean? So the photons are energy-bearing waves. So when it strikes or when it affects on the ordinary molecular constituent part of the live matter, it has makes it to be ionized, and it occurs instantaneously, very, very fast. But the changes and modification that follows after the interaction of photons of the biologic molecules, unfortunately, may be revealed or may be manifested the days, the years, the months, and maybe years after. So this influence of the photons or of the X-ray beams interaction on the live organs, on the live tissue molecules, may be sometimes very harmful. And you agree with me in that, yes? Yes, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, doctor, yes.
Yes, okay. So chemical and biochemical consequences of radiation absorption. As you know, the photons, when they are transmitted through the vital tissues, are absorbed by the organism, by the different structure of the organism. So during this absorption process, what does it happens when the photons strikes or interacts on the biologic molecules? This interaction is is divided into two parts: the direct action and indirect actions. In both indirect actions, the high energy free radicals are formed. So these free radicals are the basic concept of the harmful effect of radiation action on the life, on the living organism. So indirect action, photons are secondarily indirect. In indirect action, the photons are secondarily electrons interact with water, and the products of water ionization causes biologic damage. So what does it mean? During the indirect action, because of the life organism, 70% constituent part is water itself. The radiation, makes radiation causes the ionization or radiolysis of the water. I want you to make there's a great difference between radiolysis of water and dissociation of water. You have to know from the chemistry that the water, the elementary molecule, is dissociated in two parts. Yes, the proton, positively charged anion, and OHO minus, the negatively charged anion. But the dissociation process is an elementary chemical process that differs from the radiolysis process of the water. The radiolysis is the result of the external energy or photon interference or photon interaction of the water. This is the chain reaction of the molecules, I mean the radiolysis. This is the chain reaction when the highly ionized free radicals of H proton and the OH free radical is formed. And I want to make emphasis on the OH free radicals because that is the basis, that is the real cause by which the irradiation makes harmful effects of vital tissue molecules and makes many modifications that is very harmful for the living organisms. So what is the radical? Free radicals. Free radicals are the particles that have very high energy derived from kinetic energy of the photons that gives them this energy. They have a very little lifespan and they have the tendency to bind to another normal molecules and destroy their structure. Now you understand, I think that you understand the main harmful effects of free radicals derived from ionizing of water on the normal molecules of the live beings. Do you understand what I have said?
Okay, yes.
Yes, so these free radicals may bind to, for example, the DNA molecule. Do you know what is the DNA, desoxyribonucleic acid? And make unfortunately the denaturation or trigger the denaturation process of this very special molecular inside our cellular matrix, inside the cellular matrix of nucleus.
Yes.
So, by that way, I want to mention that the effect of ionizing radiation is very effective. It is very effective on the cellular lifespan, especially when mitotic phase begins. You understand?
Okay.
So now I want to mention about the sensitivity of the cells to ionizing radiation, because not all cells inside the living organisms are sensitive, are highly sensitive to the radiation, because there are some cells that have the low sensitivity to radiation. Do you understand?
Yes. Like
Yes. So, and the radiation the harmful effect of the radiation is expressed in the term of necrosis, in the term of formation of free radicals that harm, they that damage the normal molecules of the cell, and so expresses its harmful effect that is revealed clinically, maybe in days after, or months or years after period. And formation such kind of diseases as cancer, for example, is associated to the radiation, harmful effect of radiation, and especially because of the sensitivity to the radiation is very high in cells that possess a high mitotic activity. So you understand that radiation is very harmful in childhood. Yes. And especially in cells that have the high mitotic velocity.
Yes.
Yes. So now we have talked about the expressions of the harmful effect of the radiation, and make the special emphasis on the head and neck region. So and what effect it will have on expressions in oral cavity, because during our practice, the practice of during dental practice, we dentists are always will deal with the patients those that undergo the radiotherapy. Unfortunately, radiotherapy, or we may deal with we always deal with the patients that already have undergone the radiotherapy after the heavy surgery of cancers in head and neck region.
You can repeat your idea because it's not clear for me.
It's not clear for you. So I am talking about the radiotherapy involving the oral cavity. How the dentist has to manage according to the patient that undergoes the radiotherapy.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
So the radiation treatment is as we know, the radiation treatment is planned in the ways that not the whole and the single dose is administered to the patient. But do you see me?
Yes. Not clear.
You see me? Yeah, you see me now? Okay, I'll continue. So exposure to the during the radiotherapy to the irradiating beams, is planned and not and is planned and comprises, for example, 6 to 7 weeks, because the exposure of the patient is fractional. I mean, the patient is exposed daily to the radiation, approximately 2G. It is estimated as 2G. You understand?
2G, what's the 2G?
2G is the G is the estimation of radiation that patient is exposed to. Understand? Is the sum of radiation.
The quantity of
This is a
radiation.
limit. Yes, it's a limited number. Limited
Yes.
number. Yes.
In all life or in the
No, during the treatment time.
during the treatment? Okay.
Yes, during the treatment time. And as you know, the radiotherapy is planned and it comprises 6 to 7 weeks. You understand?
7 weeks for what?
6 to 7 weeks of radiation therapy.
Okay.
Because the whole sum of radiation after the completion of the radiotherapy comprises 70 or 60, from 70 to 60 G is the very high dose for single patient for
Yes.
his tissues. Understand?
Yes.
And through this period, the doses of radiation is conducted to patient portion by portion, but not in the single dose. Understand?
Yes, because it's dangerous.
Yes, because when you expose the patients to the single high dose, 60 G, for example, of radiation, it will be very harmful for patient. Even it will kill the patient, worsen his situation. Yes?
Yes, and cause the cancers.
Yes, of course, and will cause the cancer in surrounding normal tissues. You understand?
Yes, of course, yes.
Yes. So I make emphasis on the duration of radiation process because during this period, the patient is permanently exposed to radiation doses that, of course, by the time accumulates in the organisms until its completion. So more time goes on, more radiation is accumulated in the patient organism. So the following changes that occurs in oral cavity is very interesting for the dentist and how to manage these alterations in organisms that follows the radiation therapy in patients undergoing it. You understand? For example, I wanted to show you, but I'm sorry, I have no opportunity to showing you the changes that occurs during radiotherapy. For the first, I want to mention the oral mucosa. The changes on the oral mucosa occurs early after the end of the second week of radiotherapy. Do you understand?
Yes.
So as you know, sorry, the basal layer of the oral mucosa is comprised by the rapidly dividing radioactive progenitor cells. So as I mentioned above, the radiosensitivity is very high in rapidly dividing cells. So in this layer, the layer of mucosa that contains the basal layer, contains these very cells that are rapidly dividing and so forth. They are much more radiosensitive. And because of that, subsequent necrosis of these cells follows after the photon reacting during the radiotherapy. Because of necrosis of these layer cells, the inflammatory response follows, and after the inflammatory process follows, their mucosa changes its structure and is converted into white and yellowish coverings of the mucosal layer, or mucositis. We have mucositis already formed in the during the radiotherapy of the patients. So or the pseudomembrane, so-called pseudomembranes or desquamated epithelial cells. At the end of the therapy, the mucosa is usually, at the end of the, for example, the therapy, the mucosa is very, very and severely damaged, but after a reasonable period of time, the mucosa regains its structure and
healing.
Yes, fully heals.
Yes.
After the completion of the radiotherapy. So we have an example.
Radiotherapy, not in the X-ray, normal.
No, yes, of course, after the radiotherapy.
Yes.
Not during the radiotherapy, yes, because at the end of the radiotherapy, the process is very severe, according to mucosa, is very severe. Very severe inflammation. In this kind of situation, the patient, for example, even avoids its meal times because it cannot, it's painful. The chewing process itself is very painful for patient, and special anesthetic ointment are recommended for patients to use before meal times for normal chewing. As you see, it's very, very harmful process. But after the radiotherapy, the mucosa, by its way, mucosa heals finally and regains its structure, regains its function, with difference to the other structures of oral cavity, for example, salivary glands that unfortunately after the radiation may lose wholly its activity and become fibrotic, because the salivary glands, despite that the cells and the acini of the salivary glands are not so exclusive their dividing activity, but the irradiation acts in the other way. I mean, when the irradiation of the other cells, high dividing cells, acts on the mitotic activity and causes the necrosis of the cell. In the salivary glands, for example, it acts through the apoptosis process. Do you know what the apoptosis means? This is the ordinary death of the cell.
Yes.
Yes, you know what is that. It's the ordinary death of the cells. So the radiation acts on the way of apoptosis of the salivary glands, and in the third or the fourth week of radiation therapy, or even after the 1 week of radiation therapy, the patient unfortunately loses the salivary production, the saliva, the 15% of the saliva is lost, unfortunately, and the condition of the patient worsens as the process prolongs up to 6 weeks, and maybe sometimes I want to make an emphasis on the parotid glands, because it's very highly sensitive to the irradiation in difference to the submandibular salivary glands, so because they are much less sensitive to the radiation therapy. For example, parotid glands may almost totally lose this activity. And because of that situation, during the radiotherapy, the patient may evolve on oral cavity the condition that is called xerostomia. Do you know what is the xerostomia? This is the saliva production reduction or total loss by the salivary gland in the result of the radiotherapy. Do you understand?
You can repeat the word. What is it?
Xerostomia. This
Xerostomia?
is, yes, xerostomia is a condition that follows after reduction of the production of the saliva from the salivary glands. Those glands, that are irradiated during the radiotherapy.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
So the xerostomic patients have troubles, of course. Troubles according, for example, chewing or swallowing, and because of biochemical properties of saliva also is dramatically changed. I mean, I'm sorry?
Because of the dry mouth.
Yes, because of dry mouth and the residual saliva that is still produced by the salivary glands, it's very viscosity is high. It has a very high viscosity and unfortunately low pH. As you know, the pH of the oral cavity is approximately 6.5. Do you know that? Yes? Yes. But during the xerostomia or during conducting of radiotherapy, this indication is much more lower, becomes much more lower, and approximates up to indication of 5.5. That is very low for normal oral cavity functioning. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. So the drop of the pH, also the dry mouth has by that ways very harmful effects on the teeth itself. So the radiotherapy patients that are undergoing the whole process of radiotherapy have very characteristic Alexia Erini, okay. Very characteristic appearance of the denture, or the teeth itself, because they have specific forms of caries that is very evident when you clinically observe your patients. For example, the dentists call these the radiation caries. Radiation caries, it's a simultaneous decay of the enamel of the teeth and has the characteristic appearance because the teeth almost in the oral cavity are decayed, are changed in color, have circulating caries, or all forms together, combined all together. And so the patient condition is worsened because it has the painful teeth, cannot chewing thoroughly, and it really acts on its lifestyle. His lifestyle is changed because of this harmful effects during radiation therapy. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, and because of that situation, what is the dentist's role according to the management, the process undergoing with radiologic patient, is that to restore already decayed teeth for the first, or just extracts those teeth that have the huge caries or has the inflammatory process on their roots. You understand?
You can repeat this?
Yes. The main role for the dentist, according to those patients, to manage their health care, is to maintain the high quality hygiene of these patients, extract the suspicious teeth which have underlying inflammatory processes on their roots, and restore simultaneously the caries.
Okay.
You understand? To make the restorations in their teeth, to maintain their danger in good health and in good appearance. So, but all of these processes have to be conducted after radiation therapy passes 2 or 3 weeks. Or if you want to extract, for example, the teeth to the patient that will undergo the radiotherapy for the future, you have to plan the extraction process before the radiotherapy. For example, 2 or 3 weeks before the radiotherapy begins. You understand?
Yes.
Yes, but because during the radiotherapy the harmful changes also occurs on the bone that is exposed to during the radiotherapy, and we call this harmful process expressed and manifested in the oral cavity the osteoradionecrosis. The osteoradionecrosis that may follow after completion of the radiotherapy 6 or 11 months later. You understand?
Okay, 6 or 11 months later.
Yes, osteoradionecrosis is very harmful for the patient. It is not the cancerous lesions, but it is defined as the lesions that cannot be healed during the 3 months period. It's very hard to heal the spots of osteoradionecrosis caused by the irradiation therapy.
Yes, sorry, doctor, the radiation therapy, you mean only at the face region on head and the neck, or all the...
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. As I have already mentioned above, we make the emphasis during this course, especially on the region of face and neck, head and neck, especially.
No, my question in this case only at the radiotherapy. We at the patient, if we make radiotherapy at the breast, for example.
Yes, of course. You are right. If the patient is undergoing the radiotherapy of the other organs, the other organs of other tissues, of course, sometimes it will reveal or manifest it somehow in the oral cavity by its way, but more oftenly it is manifested very clearly when the radiotherapy is conducted in the regions limited to the head and neck.
Okay.
Yes, you understand? Okay. So we have mentioned the unhealed lesions in the oral cavity due to the necrosis of the bone, after the necrosis of the bone is very, very severe, especially on the lower jaw, and because of that, the osteoradionecrosis mostly is manifested on the lower jaw as a lower jaw lesions, and this is resulted because of histology of the lower jaw, because it has much less vasculature than the upper jaws, the maxilla, as you know from the anatomic characteristics of these bones. You understand?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so the much more vascularity of the tissue, the much more resistance of the tissues from such kind of necrosis that occurs, for example, on the lower jaw bones. For example, on the jaw bones, lower jaw bones, yes, on the mandible. So now we have dealt with the musculature also. Because during the radiotherapy, the changes may occur in the musculature, and especially we have to mention the chewing or the muscles that take place that almost guides the chewing process, the masseter and pterygoid muscles. You know that muscles, the anatomic positioning of that muscles, yes? Yes?
Yes, yes.
You know the masseter and yes, okay, Merlin is hearing excellently. So radiation may cause inflammation, as you know, and fibrosis. So resulting in what? In contracture or trismus of this kind of muscles. And so the irradiated patients sometimes the kind of changes clinically is manifested that after radiation sometimes patient cannot open his jaws or cannot open the mouth in a correct way. So what are the recommendations for this patient? At these changes, of course, 2 months later after radiation therapy, unfortunately, and sometimes it is resolved the process, but sometimes it is complicated, and because of that, exercises in opening of mouth is indicated for the patients that had undergone or undergoes the radiation therapy. So nothing more is indicated in our syllabi for today, ladies and gentlemen. And if there are any other questions, I am ready to answer for your questions toward the radiation.
Yes, doctor. I want to ask you which book we want to read for this lecture and which pages.
Which pages?
And
Which
what's
pages?
the name of the book?
Okay. So the pages that you have to pay attention for this lecture, I will tell you. Have you, Hussein, have you already got the textbook for this information?
I don't know what is name.
You don't know what is name. This is them. So I will show it you in just a moment. So then,
What is the radiology?
what are the pages that you explained? Yes. These are the pages of beginning from 31, physics, then composition of matter, 33.
What?
Composition of matter, the page 33.
33, okay.
Yes. Then the nature of radiation. So the next one, 33. Nature of radiation, composition of matter, 33. Nature of radiation, 36. X-ray machine, 41.
41, okay.
Yes. Production of X-rays, 53.
53?
Yes. Production of X-rays, 53. The book's name is Radiology of Foundation of Radiology by White and Farrow's Oral Radiology Principles and Interpretations, the 8th edition.
It's on the drive, yes?
Yes, it's on the drive, of course. I repeat, ladies and gentlemen.
Interpretation basic or which one?
Yes, White and Farrow's. These are the editor's surnames. White and Farrow's Oral Radiology Principles.
Okay, Oral Radiology Principles. Yes, I found it. 6th edition.
And yes, 8th edition.
8?
Yes, this is the 8th edition indicated.
It's not on the drive.
It's on the, not on the drive. Maybe the 7th edition is just the same information content.
The 6th edition, we have Oral Radiology Principle and Interpretation.
Principles. So, and what the authors are, Hussein, are just the same authors, White and Farrow's?
No, Mikhail.
Mikhail?
Mikhail. Faroha.
No. No, not Mikhail Harocha. Not Sanjay, it's not for this discussion. We need white and pharaohs.
White and pharaohs.
Yes, yes.
You can write in a chat the name of the book, please.
Can I drive? Yes, of course.
I may copy and.
So wait a minute.
Hussein, it is already on the drive. If you want, I will send it.
Why no?
This book is not on drive for Elias.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Farad. Also, it's not on the drive. So we have to. So we, in this situation, we have to call Salome.
I have it.
Who has?
I have already. Dr. Salome sent us the book.
Sarah, you have? Yes, already have this information.
Yes, also Alexia? Me, I have the book.
You have the book. Alexia, do you? So the Hussein left only without the information.
One second. The email.
Yes, really.
No, it's not with me.
It's not with you.
It's not with me. مش عملت له شير يا معلم.
بس أنا ببعث لك إياه.
هلا نحن نبعث لك إياه.
Salome, yes, of course.
It's written Sanjay, Malaya, Ernest Lamb, White and Pharaohs, the 8th edition.
Yes, Pharaohs, White and Pharaohs.
Yes.
Oral radiology.
يا عمي وين عم تلاقوا للكتاب؟
مش عملت له she didn't make share for me Dr. Salome the
yes.
لك الله يلعن.
Hussein, can you manage to get the drive from Salome?
Can you tell us which pages we need to concentrate on?
So,
I continue.
Okay, please, Doctor, continue till they send the book.
Yes.
I send email for Dr. Salome to send me the drive of radiology, no problem.
Okay, Hussein, by the way, you may...
Yes.
I will... interactions of this matter. Continue, just reading over pages, okay?
Okay, please.
But yet that you have to focus on interaction of X-ray with matter. It's no use for us. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
at page 53, after 53, please.
Okay. So we have had go to it. No, there comes the X-ray machine. Production of X-rays 53. Did I mention the 53 page?
Yeah, but doctor, just one question. For example, we have like breast lung radiation. We need to know all the details of it.
Well, I'm sorry, repeat the question, please.
I told you in page 53, production of X-rays.
Like yes, production of X-rays.
Yeah, we have the title in blue, lung radiation. Like we need to know the details, how we need to study it.
No, not so much details, darling. Not so much details. Okay. The main things you have to focus on the process of generation of X-rays, because there are some headlines. For example, the kinds of X-rays. For example, kinds of X-rays. The meaningful is how X-rays are generated physically to interpret in the right way. But because there are types of X-rays, there are types of kinetic energy that is converted into X-rays that we use, but there are some characteristics, for example, radiation that is not converted into the X-rays and have no use in the X-rays. You understand? So we have not focused on red topics. We have to focus in generation process itself, the cathode and anode, and understanding of the main principles, the core of this situation, where the X-rays begin to generate. Understand?
Yes.
Okay. So I will go on.
Yeah, please.
So there is
53 pages.
I have stopped in the production of X-rays. Then comes interaction. This is the production of X-rays is on the 53 page.
53. Okay. After.
Yeah. Then interaction of X-rays with matter.
Yes.
So we don't want the photoelectric absorption because that is obvious that the X-rays are absorbed by the vital tissues, and some of the X-rays are transmitted beyond the tissues when it traverses the vital tissues. And that is the process of attenuation, when the X-rays undergo the decay process and it's no more active and dangerous for the surrounding fields. Understand?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is the reactions with matter, photoelectric dosimetry and also this is not for us because because there are diversity of manufacturers that produce other types of X-ray machines that have the special dosimetries for this one and for this one, that one, and the dosimetry of the X-ray production is regulated by the specific laws of the specific state. You understand? For example, in Georgia, we have the estimation on the dosimetry or X-ray radiation that is calculated by our laws and regulated by our laws. But in United States, for example, in Lebanon, there are different regulations according to the dosimetry of radiation emitted from the whole apparatus. So it is no use to our content. Understand?
Okay.
Yes. It is not meaningful for dental diagnostic for our practice. I'm just making the focus only on the main interest that has the main interest that is towards very closer to us, to dentists. Okay. So then comes the biologic effects of ionizing radiation.
Which page?
This is the page 18.
18?
Yes.
80 or 18?
80. Yes.
80?
80. Yes.
Okay.
So this is a very useful topic because biologic effects of ionizing radiation or the interaction of photons, interaction of X-rays on the vital tissues, how does it react, and what are the benefits of this reaction in diagnostic imaging and in diagnostic imaging as in by therapeutic means. It's very meaningful for us, and so I want to make much more emphasis and you to focus on biologic effects on the ionizing radiation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. So and then comes the next topic, radiotherapy involving the oral cavity.
Okay, which page?
97, page 97.
Okay, 97.
Yes. And also, as I have already mentioned, this topic is very useful for us.
Okay.
The radiotherapy as a main guide in curing and in treatment of cancer patients. As cancer patients, we have to know, because we always, as a dentist, as a doctors, we always deal with the patient, those who are undergoing radiotherapy or almost have undergone the radiotherapy, and we have to know how to manage with these patients.
Okay.
Okay, so safety and protection, and these are the other topics that we will discuss later on the next lecture.
Okay, just one question, please, more. You
Yes.
said page 97, okay? It's also related to the bone, and we need to study all the topics related to the main topic, right?
Sorry, so?
You told us like page 97.
Okay. 97.
Yes.
Alina, yes. Alina or?
Marilyn.
Marilyn.
Yeah.
Marilyn. So unfortunately, Marilyn, here I have not indicated the real pages, but what's the question is, please repeat the question.
All the topic after this page, like 97, we have title, big title. We want to cover everything after that.
To cover everything.
Yeah, like more mucosa and the teeth and the taste buds.
Yes, here are information about that is needed for us. Almost all the information.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you, doctor.
Thank you very much, doctor.
Okay. So for the next section, we will discuss again the information from the given textbook.
Yeah.
Yes, from the given textbook, and the talk that I will conduct will about the topic will about safety and protection.
Okay.
Abstract sources of radiation. Exposure, dental or maxillofacial radiology, risks and doses, and implementing radiation protection. So we will talk about safety and protection.
Okay, next week.
Okay.
Of radiology in our dental, and make the special emphasis on dental offices and the work of operator in that offices to make safe the other staff, the surrounding members of the clinic and other public outside the clinic.
Okay.
Doctor, we can for the next time made the presentation and send for us before the lecture.
Yes, of course. Yes,
better.
of course. I will manage the presentation, because without presentations it's very hard for the listener to understand what is the talk about. Yes, yes, I will do it in the right way.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
So see you.
See you next week.
Next, to the next day, to the next lecture.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.